Dunfermline High Street, epicentre of erstwhile Prime Minister Gordon Brown's parliamentary constituency.
I'll just go and use it now, and then I'll go in and get it.
It was not, I was told, the most fertile ground for a group of people garnering support for Middle Eastern Muslims, however persecuted and oppressed. But the trestle tables went up, the petition sheets were laid out, and the inaugural Saturday outing for the Scottish Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Fife branch, was underway.
End the occupation of Palestine. Boycott Israeli goods. Come and sign our petition today.
The early signs were not promising. Confronted with a map showing Palestine's diminishing green against a backdrop of colonising Israeli white, one middle-aged local expressed his hope that it would soon all turn white. "Palestinians suck," he said. "Long live Israel." I felt the slight personally, but on behalf of my Palestinian friend who was leafleting just out of earshot. The outburst also left me puzzled. As an Englishman, I could understand better if the target of his vitriol was me. The Declaration of Arbroath, written in 1320 as a plea for the recognition of Scottish sovereignty, makes abundantly clear the extent of atrocities suffered at the hands of the English oppressor. It remains one of the most celebrated and rousing statements in support of a nation's freedom. But the Palestinians too have endured their own military subjugation, their own version of the Highland clearances, and they too have suffered the indignity of a bullying, disempowering superior power, handing out harsh and indiscriminate treatment to their people. So you really might expect a bit more sympathy from a Scot. But this was maybe a Scotsman familiar with more obscure historical texts that appeared to link the Scottish people with the tribe of Israelites who migrated north from the Middle East in the centuries before Christ. This is picked up by the Scottish Friends of Israel in its own reference to the Declaration of Arbroath, where the alleged link of Scotland to Israel is made explicit. The Scottish Friends of Israel is an organisation that seeks to redress the balance against those who support the Palestinian cause. So in a pointed statement to the Scottish people, it quite naturally highlights the fact that the Declaration of Arbroath, while invoking Israel as inspiration, makes no mention of Palestine, and goes on to emphasise that Palestinian nationhood itself is a 20th century construct, although it is very much 21st century weapons that are used to reinforce the point.
Children don't know what they're supposed and not supposed to paint, so in Darfur they took pictures like this and used them as evidence of war crimes because they accepted that innocent children would just paint what they'd seen. So what's this business with the limbs? These pictures are really a catalogue of all the kinds of weapons that were used, and they're mostly self-explanatory. Here's the bulldozers, Apache, F-16, mosque being shot. All the mosque towers that I saw throughout Gaza were knocked down, even if the mosque itself wasn't bombed. Ambulances set on fire, people limbless. The writing says Gaza under attack. There is a bomb called a dime bomb, which stands for dense inert metal explosive. It's a fragmentation bomb. It's made up of tiny, tiny little pieces, just a centimetre cube or less, tens of thousands of them. The bomb explodes above the ground. and these pieces come flying out at a force of 2 tons. They hit you. Each little fragment hits with a force of 2 tons, travelling at a speed of 1,000 kilometres an hour. If these little pieces hit a building, they just drop to the floor. They just stop and drop, make a little tiny pockmark. They're not intended to knock down buildings. They have no function in terms of property. They only kill people. When these little tiny fragments hit flesh, they just burn it. Flesh isn't very substantial in the light of this kind of attack. But when they hit bone, they smash it. Bone survives better. But if you hit bones at a joint, of course, all the tendons and so on disintegrate, so you get this amputation effect. Now, because the thinner your bones are and the thinner the flesh surrounding them, the more likely you are to be amputated, including at the neck, the more likely children are to die from this bomb, because children are simply smaller and thinner. If the Israelis had wanted to invent a bomb specifically designed to kill children, this would have been the answer they came up with.
But back on the streets of Dunfermline, there were success stories too.
Having been out in Palestine, I mean, the Palestinians out there...
A younger man pushing his child in a buggy stopped to talk.
Israel was meant to be Las Vegas a year ago. I'm there in favour of the Jews and the Muslims.
It's not about Jews and Muslims. There's a lot of...
That's where Jesus was born, isn't it?
His comments reflected an all too familiar set of preconceptions about the region, or stereotypes about those involved.
Even the Quran says if you're no Muslim, you should be beheaded.
No, it doesn't. The Quran does not say that.
It only took a few correcting facts about the reality in Palestine to change the thinking, make the impact, and prompt a response. Job done. For one day at least.